about this priority one of the phonemic and phonological awareness and as a precursor to then beginning the steps to orthographic mapping. And when we get down to 3, that's priority 2. So we want to immediately, as soon as they can isolate those sounds, as soon as they can manipulate those sounds and they're getting really fluid at it, we want to immediately then start attaching those letters to that sequence. Okay. And so that's what we're going to talk about now. That's the phonics piece of it. When I take a phoneme, a sound, and I map on the spellings of that sound, that's the phonics of it. When I can do that sequence of a word, the sounds in the word in a sequence, and do that automatically, they become those sight words that are in my letter box in my brain, and my brain is released from that decoding and can really understand. This is all about attaching the letter. And there are lots of different kinesthetic ways we can do this. There are these fun gel bags, and when we were going to do this in person, Molly has all of these manipulatives for us to be practicing with. So she actually went home and made all of these glitter gel bags, and so this is really just a Ziploc baggie with some really good tape and glue here, and you have put inside some gel and some glitter, something to make it look fun. The kid can then draw, and it's a kinesthetic thing where I'm hearing the sound as I'm tracing that form of that sound. So A says ah. I can take the fat letter that's drawn and I can do a little matchbox car to draw that and form it. It's very important when they are doing the kinesthetic and they're feeling the shape that they're also at the same time saying the sound. C says k. Here you see they're using shaving cream, a little messy. I don't know if I'd want to do this one, but knock yourself out if that's what floats your boat. Wiki sticks, we could do wiki sticks as well. This is that memory foam type stuff my daughter has in her classroom, and you can make the shapes of the letters that way and they can feel them. That's the important part. They're feeling it as they're saying the sound. Orton Gillingham has you do a lot of salt boxes. So these little Tupperwares you can buy like 50 of them for $10 at Target or whatever. And so they see the letter C and they'll say, C says K in this sense, right? If we get to the point where I know 2 ways to spell this sound, they might also be drawing K on here. But it's great to color this salt. It's salt, you color it. And then it has the little lid and each kid has their own individual one. There's also these cutouts you can do where the child gets to trace and feel that letter. Anything where they can feel it as well as saying it. Now we're into multiple modalities and we'll remember it more. These 2 here are what we call a bumpy board. Bumpy board is just this piece of plastic with the holes in it. We can put the bumpy board on top of a word or a letter that we have written, and then have the kid trace it because they can see underneath, right? Or we put it underneath and then have them write it, and then they can trace where the crayon is. If they write it with a crayon, they then can feel that crayon. So this is called a bumpy board, and it's just this idea of getting them to feel as they are saying what sound that letter makes. And therefore, we are doing that neural pathway, right? We're firing and wiring together. Priority 2 is follow a systematic sequence using this hear, see, say, write routine for phonics. So if you're not in the slide deck, go ahead and tell me all of the ways to spell long E. You can put them in the chat. What are all the different ways to spell the E sound? Don't cheat. Seeing E-E, E-A, E-Y, Y, E blank Y at the end of a word. So I see the space there to tell me it's at the end of a word, just E by itself. All of this practice of what are the ways I can spell this sound. So I have sound, and how do I spell it? I see a spelling. What sound does that make? I'm back and forth in the neural pathway. Phoneme, grapheme, grapheme, phoneme, back and forth until it wires together. So here are all our long E spellings from most frequent to least frequent. And you don't need to buy something like this because you have your sound spelling cards. Your sound spelling cards will tell you all of these, and that's why the spellings are on there. So this whole portion is really connected to your sound spelling cards. English has 44 phonemes. Those are on this particular slide, 33. So the phoneme goes in between the slashes, and that's a sound. That's not a letter. That's a sound. So the B sound, for example, in banana and bubbles, can be written in these ways, okay? Then I go to the S sound, as in sun and mouse, can be spelled these ways. So this is our phoneme grapheme chart for English. And we have moved from, I'm taking my Elkonin box, maybe thumbtacks, or I have these little cute magnets, or I have beans, whatever I have. I'm moving from sliding those into the boxes as I say the sounds, to now saying this letter makes that sound and sliding the letters into the Elkonin box. That's the beauty of the Elkonin box, because eventually you can go buy the little magnetic letters at the dollar store and have kids be sliding them up. And it's the same construct they practiced with when they were doing the boxes, just with some sort of a manipulative. So a good phonics lesson links phonemic awareness to phonics. It states the sound spelling relationship. It provides explicit instruction in blending and practice using word lists that have the target spelling. And it connects phonics then to a decodable text. So you're going right into a decodable text. So the kid is, I can read, I'm reading. You want them excited about that. And this is just a sequence here that can be used. These are some different characteristics of systematic explicit phonics, but Molly and I like to use the whole thing of hear, see, say, write, which is basically what you have here. I hear the phoneme, I see the spelling, I say words, meaning I blend them together, and then I'm going to write them, or I do my encoding. Let's talk about that and look at it. But before we do, I'm just going to give a couple of differences to Spanish. And actually, I think I talked about this, so I'm not really going to go into it. The fact that in Spanish, we read by syllables. So very different. And we're able to do this because of the fact that it's so transparent, that spelling. The sound spelling relationship is just very, very phonetic, the language itself. So remember, our reading brain is a system. And I hope you remember this graphic where we were talking about we've got some visual input when we're going to read, right? And we are going to sound it out, and we're going to access meaning, and that is going to be mapped orthographically into this visual word form area that doesn't exist when we first start reading. So in order to do that, we got the visual recognition part, the sound recognition part, the concept, building our vocabulary, building our conceptual knowledge of things, our content knowledge. We're going to build all those three areas independently. And then we're going to start to link them together in the brain. The visual recognition of recognizing letters and then mapping them to sounds, that's phonics. When I get the phonics and then I know what I'm reading, when I pull it off the page, it has some conceptual meaning. That's meaning making, which is comprehension. So I'm building all those areas up individually, and then I'm building the neural networks between them as well. So we're going to tackle these next three together. How do I follow a systematic sequence using hear, see, say, write for phonics? And then how do I make sure I'm using common multisensory instructional routines for that? And there are lots of them out there. What I would advise you to do is pick one and stick with it. So if you're a school that everybody's doing Orton Gillingham and we pound and tap, go for it. If you are a school that is using red words and we're tapping them out on our arm, fine. But I don't think it's a good idea to change that up all the time for the kid. So it should be a conversation around how are we going to do these things that are so that our students understand what is first best instruction for reading at my site. And all teachers coming onto your site also understand this is the way we're doing it here, so it's consistent for our kids. And then we're going to incorporate lots of opportunities for students to interact and have high quality deliberate practice to build that neural network. We'll talk about small group instruction based on data a little bit in the later sessions, but I know Molly's going to also talk about that in the subsequent sessions that are more for 3 through 5.